Do you want to know how your current beliefs are condemning you to a life of isolation, unhappiness and fear? Today I'm going to show you how to create your get out of jail free card. Every single person is powerful, perfect as they are. And I believe we all have a role to play in making this world a better place. My purpose is to help people step into their power. Hi, I'm Gina. Our beliefs create our reality. Our experiences create the beliefs we hold about ourselves and the world, and once they're installed into our brain, we often give them lasting status. We rarely challenge the validity of them. And the opposite is also true. We constantly look for evidence to uphold them, even when they're negative and disempowering. The challenge is that when we look for evidence to support our beliefs, we will find it as we interpret what is happening based on that initial belief. So let me give you an example. There's a dog in the park and there's two people. One person brought up with dogs, loves them, very confident around them. The other was bitten when they were tiny. The dog approaches the first person, they greet the dog smiles, it wags its tail, and their belief that all dogs are friendly is proven. The dog approaches the second person. They start to squeal and go away, go away. The dog starts to growl, and their belief that all dogs are a threat is seen to be true. Their beliefs, both positive and negative, were strengthened by what they experienced. Their behaviours were driven by their beliefs, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. It makes great sense to do an audit of your beliefs, to determine those which are empowering you, those are keepers, and it's your choice whether to continue to allow any limiting belief to carry on running the quality of your life. So, how are your beliefs installed? Babies have absolute confidence that they're loved and that they're perfect. We absorb conditioning, our attitudes towards relationships, money, work, success, in fact, every aspect of life from our parents, our teachers, our peers, the media. Remarks are internalised and we make meaning of them. Beliefs about ourselves, our self-worth, what we deserve, whether we're lovable and deserve success, these are installed in our formative years. Parents and teachers being critical, well, the motive is usually positive. They want their child to be even better, but the way it's done can be clumsy. The child takes the message, I'm not good enough. When negative remarks are repeated over time, the impact cuts deeper and stronger. Beliefs can become more entrenched, and for the most part, they remain unchallenged. It becomes manifested in repetitive patterns of behaviour. It's important to recognise that survival is our unconscious mind's first and main priority. It's absolutely fundamental. Its job, to keep us safe. The reality is that often belief patterns keep us stuck rather than safe. Remember from the last episode, if you believe you can't, it's a done deal. Let me demonstrate just how powerful our beliefs can be. Most of you will be familiar with the guy called Roger Bannister. He was the first person to run the 4-minute mile, and he was told by medics that if he ran that fast, he would die. And if you look at the footage of the actual event, there are doctors in white coats with oxygen bottles waiting for him to collapse after he'd run. Now, that he did it at all, I find amazing. But having run the 4-minute mile, within 1 month, over 30 others had done the same. So our beliefs can actually help us achieve the most amazing things. Let me tell you about a maths student. He was going to miss his lecture, and he was told by his lecturers if he didn't come in and get the homework and complete it, he would fail the course. He arrived, he saw only one problem on the board, and he copied it down. And over the next few days, he beavered away at it, thinking, this is hard, but I must be able to do it, it's my homework. When he gave it in, his lecturer was absolutely gobsmacked, because this was seen as an unsolvable problem by the greatest minds in the country. And the only reason he'd solved it is because he believed it was solvable. There are a number of commonly held beliefs which are really unhelpful, and here are just a few. Your self-worth is determined by how you look. The trouble is most of the images that surround us are not real, they're air-blown. Your self-worth is determined by what you do. Interestingly, many of the people I work with are extremely successful, yet they have a poor sense of self-worth. The challenge for them is that no amount of success will ever be enough until they love themselves. When people are made redundant or retire, it shakes their sense of self-worth and identity, and that was certainly my experience when I left headship. Your self-worth is determined by what you do for others. So busy helping others that we often fail to look after ourselves. It's common to have difficulty in saying no. Let me ask you, do you use the same criteria for yourself as you do for others? In my experience, people are usually much harder on themselves than they are on others. We'll look at this in much more detail in episode 6. Your self-worth is based on money. So many people have got negative beliefs about money, so I'll be covering this in an episode, The Secret to Achieving Wealth and Abundance. Your brain can't distinguish between fact and fiction. In fact, police are really suspicious if everybody gives the same statement. Nor can anybody tell whether you're being confident or whether you're faking it. So the old saying, fake it till you make it, can be really, really helpful. With your beliefs, your language is really important. Believe it and it will become your truth. This requires two things: the belief that change is possible and action. To achieve something different, you have to do something differently. And to sustain that new position, the action has to be consistent over time. Life is not a spectator sport. And if you want to do something different and to have positive beliefs, the whole thing is entirely up to you. Today, I'd like to share with you the story of Yvonne. Now, Yvonne came to me, she'd just got a big promotion, and one of the things around her promotion was that she was going to have to do public speaking. And let me tell you, she was terrified. She was in a complete funk. When we started talking, it turned out that she didn't like being in the limelight, that she had a very poor sense of self. Her belief about her abilities were that this is something that was completely beyond her. And because she believed that she wasn't able to do it, that was her reality. So rather than working on the public speaking particularly, in the first instance, what we had to work on was her sense of self-worth and her self-belief. I asked her, how often do you speak? And she looked at me rather strangely. I said, well, can you speak? Yes, I can speak. So do you have a problem speaking to one person? She said she didn't. How about two? Because in reality, when you're speaking to two people, you're speaking to two individuals. And so we set up the belief that not only could she speak, and had been doing so for many years, that she was intelligent and articulate, that actually that if you looked at public speaking as speaking to a collection of individuals rather than a huge group of people, that public speaking would become easier. Her belief about herself and her capacity to be a good public speaker was changed. Then, of course, we did work on preparation, on structuring how she would speak, and by the time she came to do her first public engagement, she was well practiced. We had gone through a whole range of strategies in terms of her breathing, her standing, her use of voice, and she did a brilliant job. Now, let me say, in the first instance, she was pretty frightened. But our comfort zone expands the more we do things. And what she realised is that her belief in herself is that if she was going to give things a go, she could pretty well do anything she set her mind on. Today, Yvonne has a prestigious job. Public speaking is a daily part of what she does. She does it with confidence and aplomb. She recognises that she can do it. And so can you. It's time for the mailbag, and today it's all about beliefs. How can I feel better about myself? It's an important question. Throughout this series, there are lots of principles and strategies which will help you recognise yourself for the unique, amazing being that you are. Your brain's like an old-fashioned vinyl record. Like the needles stuck in the grooves of the record, our thinking gets stuck in a specific pattern. To feel better about yourself, you need to interrupt the negative pattern. Try the can-do exercise over the next few days. Think about all of those things you can do rather than those you can't. For 5 minutes every day, write down a list of all of those things that you can do. If you find it hard to think of things, start with the simple things. I can dress myself, I can feed myself, I can make a cup of tea. It makes a difference. You might think it's silly, but the important thing is to keep the flow of thinking about what you can do going. Add in your positive attributes. I'm kind, I'm helpful. Throughout the series, there are lots of other strategies to help you feel much more positive about yourself. So secondly, I think I'm unlucky. How can I change this? Luck is more about preparation and being open to opportunity. A fan once said to a famous golfer, "What a lucky win." And he responded, "Isn't it interesting? The more I practice, the luckier I become." The final question for this episode is a really challenging one. How can I make others believe in me? You have to start with you. If you don't believe in you and what you're doing, it's hard to expect others to have faith in you. Think honestly, not brutally, about your track record to date. If you have a history of starting things and giving up, or you've generally failed to keep your word, it's important that you take responsibility for your words and actions or lack of them. If a change in your approach is needed, then make the decision to change. Don't expect an instant shift in their beliefs. It'll take your doing things consistently over time. And consider, why is it so important to have the other person's approval? The best way to create a change in their belief of you is to succeed. You have to have faith in yourself to get started and follow through to the end despite others' doubts. As ever, I'd like to leave you with 3 things which have the potential to enhance the quality of your life. Number 1, believe you can't and it's a done deal. Believe you can and you're halfway there. Winners have an absolute faith that they can win, and so can you. Consider your beliefs over the next few days. Those which empower and support you, they're keepers, celebrate them. Those which are negative and limiting, consider whether you want things to stay as they are, or if it's time to tackle them and change them for something more empowering. There'll be lots to help you in the process in coming episodes. So next, it's your decision to blame everyone else and be a victim, or to take responsibility and be a hero. Taking responsibility for what you do and say, how and when you say it, and if you say or do anything at all, can be rather uncomfortable. But it's incredibly empowering. Even more so is being responsible for your own emotional well-being. When you hand the responsibility for your happiness to others, you have to put up with what they decide for you. It means giving away your power. And finally, the more you find yourself outside your comfort zone, the more you'll be in the zone of endless possibilities. Your comfort zone may feel cozy, but eventually it will limit you and it'll keep you small. Highly successful people do feel fear, but they believe they'll succeed and get on with making their success a reality. It's been a real privilege once again to be with you today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next programme, where you'll discover the power of language. A hand grenade or a dove of peace, a destroyer of self-belief or a creator of confidence, and learn how you can harness its positive power in your own life. Until then, Be genuinely you. Want to learn more? Grab a copy of my #1 best-selling book, Thriving Not Surviving: The 5 Secret Pathways to Happiness, Success and Fulfillment, on Amazon or wherever good books are sold.